Hi, I'm Dennis Wilson. At Delta Dental of New Jersey, we're committed to educating the public about the importance of good oral health and its role in our overall health and well-being. That's why we're proud to support the important healthcare programming produced by the CAUCUS Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of CAUCUS New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, JFK Medical Center, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, and by Verizon. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey, and by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, I'd like to welcome, for the first time here, joining us, Anthony Bisulca, who is Associate Director of Teacher Programs at Liberty Science Center. For those who don't know what Liberty Science Center is, Anthony, tell them.
We're the largest museum in New Jersey. We have many, many hands-on interactive exhibits. On an annual basis, we welcome 650,000 students, teachers, and families to our facility to enjoy engaging, exciting hands-on learning.
It's a great place, and for those of us who have been there with our kids and teachers who have been there, they know how terrific it is. There is a quote-unquote next generation of science standards.
Correct.
What does that mean?
It's a national movement that the great part about it, it's state-driven. So 26 states initially came together and formed a consortium to look together at where the science standards were and where we want them to go. And actually, Liberty Science Center, along with New Jersey Department of Education, were leads in the state to help our state collaborate with other states to create what we call the next generation science standards.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I was trying to understand what specific, without going through all the details, some of the biggest changes.
Okay. Probably the biggest change is that what they're looking at now is called three-dimensional learning.
Three-dimensional learning.
Yes. So what that means essentially is that it used to be the standards were very content-focused. So you learn your biology, you learn your chemistry, you learn your physics. And in many ways, the way the teacher taught that was almost kind of secondary, as long as the quote-unquote the students got the content. With the next generation science standards, there's understanding that the practice of science is just as important for developing a mind as knowing the boiling point of water, for example. So it's not so much do kids know at what point water boils, but how do they come to that knowledge?
So give us an example of how it breaks down. So if you could pass a test that said, quantitatively, you answer a quantitative question, what is the boiling point of water, and you got it right, you pass a test. That's not good enough.
No. So we're trying to go way beyond just memorization, way beyond just the idea of read a chapter, answer the questions, and now you're science literate. Now it's, can you actually do a lab? Can you not just...
What do you mean, do a lab?
Well, can you perform the activities in a lab, but not just perform the activities, can you actually construct a lab? Can you define what a problem is in science? Can you ask your own questions and then figure out a way to investigate those questions? So it's a much deeper learning and putting more learning actually in the students' hands.
Okay, so given the fact that, that's one example. Give me another one before I ask what the impact that has on teaching teachers.
Okay, so another example would be, for example, in physics. So the idea of you could teach somebody force equals mass times acceleration.
Say that again?
You could teach somebody, force equals
mass times acceleration.
Right. So in many ways, for example, when I took physics in high school, it was taught almost exclusively as a mathematical formula. So if you have two of the three variables, you could figure out the third.
Got it.
Just by doing a math problem.
Sure.
In the next generation science standards, they want to actually have the kids develop experiments.
So give us an experiment that would play this out.
So, for example, you have a cart with what they call laser gates now. So you have a cart that starts at one end of a lab table,
All right.
and you set it to go, and you could measure how long it took to get from that part to when it crosses the laser gate at the end. And from that, you can figure out the formula, as opposed to the teacher writing it up on a whiteboard and telling you about it.
And teachers are, excuse me, teachers and students, teachers are going to be expected to prepare students to be able to do that. Students are going to have to be prepared and able to do it, but what impact does it have on the work that you and your colleagues do to prepare teachers to do this?
Well, the main part is that we're shifting our focus from, for example, we've been doing hands-on science for 20 plus years now.
Right.
So the idea of it's not good enough now just to have the kids' hands busy. It's what we like to call hands-on, minds-on.
What's the difference?
Well,
If you're hands-on, aren't you minds-on?
You may be, but there's something in this museum world called the pinball effect, where kids will come and push buttons and manipulate something, and then they're right off to the next exhibit without actually giving it any thought, without actually staying for a while and considering what did my motion create in that exhibit. They want to see the bell ring or the buzzer go off, and then they're off to the next thing. Next generation science standards, by looking at things like science practices and cross-cutting concepts, takes the hands-on and brings it to the next level of cognitive understanding.
So it's saying to them, listen, before you run off to the next exhibit, before you run off to the next thing that you find exciting, let's sit here and talk this through.
Yes, and so we're modeling that with the teachers in hopes that then that could be one avenue they use to extend student science learning. They could use our center as a way to extend student science learning.
So, and then there's something else called the Next Gen. What is Next Gen? In cooperation with Rutgers?
Yeah, and I mean, Next Gen is a grant we have in cooperation with Rutgers Newark, specifically with their urban teacher education program. And we're really excited about this because most of my work and my colleagues' work has been with teachers already in the classroom. This Next Gen grant helps us to work with undergraduate juniors and seniors preparing to be science teachers to get them ready to get in the classroom. And we called it Next Gen because the Next Generation Science Standards is at the heart of this program we're using to teach the student teachers to become better teachers.
Curious about this. Your fascination with science started when?
It actually, it started at the Museum of Natural History. It started.
How old?
I was probably field trip 9 or 10.
No way.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
So you're 9 or 10 years old. You're over in New York.
Yep.
You're in the museum, and you say?
And first time I ever saw the big T-Rex.
No!
My parents had taken me places, but we never gone there. The T-Rex and the blue whale, I could not forget those things. I went home.
But connect that to science.
Well, I mean, for a 9, 10-year-old, at that point, I wasn't making too many connections. It was just kind of like, you know, this thing is larger than, you know, it's the size of a building where I live, you know, and just I was in awe. I was in awe of how can people create such a place that you walk around and you just see incredible scientific, you know, it took me way beyond my book in school.
You wanted to know more.
Yes.
And you wanted to be a part of it.
And I liked science in school, but that really, I said, I need to know more about things like this.
Well, you're going to be part of a panel discussion we have with your colleagues talking about teaching teachers to be ready for the challenges of being in the classroom and beyond. Anthony, I want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more CAUCUS New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to welcome back again Dr. Jeanette Betancourt is Senior Vice President of U.S. Social Impact at Sesame Workshop, founded in 1969, a great organization dedicated to
helping children grow up smarter, stronger, and kinder. It's a nonprofit educational organization.
You've been with them for over 20 years.
Over 20 years, yes.
Doing really important things. Jeanette, you've joined us so many times talking about children and media and the role of parents. Family engagement.
Right. Someone
says, well, media is a tool. You've always said media is a tool. It's a tool. How can parents be a part of that?
It's critical. So it's tools around media are all around us, everything from ebooks to television to apps. But these are only tools to really guide children's learning or experiences. And adults, especially parents, have a critical role in it. And more it's being called co-engagement.
Co-engagement, explain it, break it down.
Co-engagement is really the idea that I'm experiencing just as I would with a book, I'm doing it through media. So if it's an ebook, it's an app, it's a digital game, we can experience it together, particularly in early childhood.
So it's so interesting. Our daughter, Olivia, asked me to watch a show with her the other day. I'd like to say it was on PBS, but it happened not to be.
Okay.
It usually is, but this wasn't. And I was like, why is she watching this show? What's it about? And I was tired and didn't really want to, but I sat there and as I was watching it, I was curious as to how she was reacting to certain things. And and I paused it and I said, well, what's going on here? And I listened to her explain. Believe it or not, it was this, without going into it, was this one girl who played twins. And one was a sporty girl, one was an athletic, one was into fashion. And I said, tell me about it. She told me this whole thing about it. I would never have known, the point of this is, I would never have known how she was experiencing this series and those characters if I hadn't talked to her, and I realized it.
Absolutely.
I think that's what you're talking about.
Absolutely, and also, not only that, that was a parenting moment, because you were sharing
She forced me into it.
Well, you forced each other a little bit,
Yeah, but
right?
I knew it was...
And you enjoyed it.
She needed it.
You can tell by the way you're smiling that you truly enjoyed it because it was a sharing experience. And sometimes we look at media in a way that it's very singular. It's only me in that experience. But you just described the way that we talk about it, experience it together. But even more important with young children, remember, we're developing their experiences, how they talk about things, how they experience things. And adults are just guiding that as well. And being part of that as a parent, it's really critical.
Thought about asking questions?
It's a lot about asking questions, but experiencing the fun together, because often media is fun as well. And you are experiencing just as you would everything together as a family. And looking at media for that way actually increases the impact of educational media, well-used media, and as well as the parenting moments.
And experiencing diversity or learning about diversity through media, critically important.
Oh, of course. Media opens up. That's the way Sesame began. When we started Sesame Street on PBS, it was opening the world, experiences that children around the country had not seen, places and experiences.
People
and
who didn't
different
look like
people.
them.
Yes, people who did not look like them, including our Muppets.
Right.
So our Muppets represent different sort of characteristics and personalities. And then there's also people around them that were also diverse.
You know, you talked about the impact of our teachers on early childhood. Talk about that.
It's critical. I mean, the first entry into education is generally in a preschool setting. It is with preschool educators. And more we're knowing the importance of that, setting the foundation, not only in terms of what we call the academics, language, literacy, reading, math, science exploration, like we just heard, but also social emotional development. Children are learning the way that they communicate, the way they listen, persevere, and the teacher, and often an assistant teacher, are facilitators of that for a group of children and also individually.
You know, as we think about children, there's this huge academic piece, excuse me, but the emotional and psychological and social piece of it. How do we teach teachers to even begin to understand and be prepared to deal with those issues? Or do we say those issues are for those professionals?
Well, what's interesting is that teachers are, especially early childhood teachers, are often emphasizing the social emotional. They're often saying that is almost a basic foundation before we get into the more academics. In other words, young children need to experience the idea of persevering, of dealing with frustration, of what we call executive function, you know, learning to hold back or listen and follow through, memory, All of those things are foundations for all the learning. And teachers, I believe, are very much in favor of knowing that they have to balance both.
So, you know, I've thought about this. So if you see a kid in an early childhood situation who is particularly aggressive, and we've seen them, and I always wonder, like, why can't that kid's, I'm not going to call the kid a bully because the kid's 5 or 6 or whatever, and you're like, what does the kid know? But the kid's very aggressive, physical, in other kids' faces, and I think, why can't the parents just deal with that? And I think, okay, well, you don't know the situation.
Right.
What does a teacher do, and how do we teach teachers to deal with that?
Often, those are called challenging behaviors. Sometimes children experience that often, and sometimes all children experience some type of temper tantrum or issues. And I think you brought up 2 things. One, we have to find out why that challenging behavior is occurring, especially if there's a pattern. Whether it's bullying, acting out, having temper tantrums. Often what teachers can do and often do is they look to see, is there a consistent pattern? What can set off that behavior? And then look at the skills that may be lacking. So often in bullying or such situations, it's not about the physical behavior, it's that maybe that child is not able to communicate effectively his or her feelings, or able to set up friendships and know the steps to do that, or is acting out the behavior that rather than using the words.
Or if maybe you've seen it at home.
That's another
and
factor.
Also, that teacher has to help other kids understand what's going on and how to deal with that as well.
I think it's also communicating whenever you're seeing those challenging behaviors, communicating with parents as well. What's happening? Is this also happening at home?
Every time you come, we learn important things. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And you're part of a larger panel discussion we're having on this subject, these subjects about teaching teachers. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you, Jeanette.
To see more CAUCUS New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to be joined by Dr. Jennifer Robinson, Executive Director of the Center for Pedagogy at Montclair State University. Good to see you, Doctor.
It's great to be here.
People don't know this word pedagogy, which means?
The art and science of teaching.
It is an art and a science both?
Correct.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, you know, people are not necessarily born teachers. They may have predispositions towards teaching, and, you know, a lot of times you hear stories about people lining up their friends to teach them, etc. But there are also things that you can learn about teaching, and that's where the science part comes in. That's where the ability to learn strategies, methodologies for teaching and doing it better and better and better. So it's both an art, it's the ability to be able to capture students' imagination and engage them and get them really interested in a particular subject or topic, but it's also strategies and methodologies that have been practiced over the years.
And the center?
And the center actually oversees all aspects of bringing together all of the major players in preparing new teachers. The arts and sciences faculty, who are over the disciplines that they learn, the majors that they have, as well as the education faculty who teach them about child development and all kinds of things around teaching and learning, and then also the schools. Our schools have to be partners, and they have to be involved in the preparation of teachers.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you've been committed to the art and the science and the practice of teaching for a few years. When did you know this would be your life's work?
That's a great question. I think when I was very young, I was actually around kindergarten. I think I loved my kindergarten teacher.
Where'd you grow up?
Newark, New Jersey.
Me too. What part of the city?
Week section, South Ward.
I was on the other side, North
North
Ward.
Ward.
Was it a teacher
It
that
was.
did it for you?
It was.
Public
Many
school
teachers,
teacher?
many teachers, sure.
Inspired
Sure.
you?
Absolutely.
So you saw something in that teacher?
I was impressed, I think, that, and I think for me it was very fortunate that much of what my parents were teaching me at home was reinforced in school, and so the school and our home worked together. I saw teachers who saw something in me and encouraged me as a young person. I was very shy growing up, but I had teachers, absolutely. But I had teachers who saw my potential and really inspired me and really helped me to grow and develop. And I think it started there. I think also, being in YMCA programs and being a part of leadership development and teen programs also sort of helped me to see that I was a leader. And of course, I was working in the Y at the time, was a junior leader, so I was teaching swim class, I was teaching gymnastics, I was teaching all kinds of low-level activities. So I was working with children when I was a teenager.
You know, I have to ask you this. I'm not even going to wait till later on because I'm a student of leadership, and people know I ask this question of a lot of people. Teachers are leaders. You can't be a great teacher without being a leader. Plus, you've had these experiences at the Y at a very young age and other places. What's your greatest leadership lesson you think you've learned?
That's a great question. I think that you don't always have to be in the limelight to be a leader. You don't have to be in the front. You can lead from the rear. You can lead from behind. You can. You don't have to be the number one person. The other thing is that you have to allow people to make their own decisions about how and when they will follow. It's not always going to happen at one time. I think leading and getting people going in a direction is a process, and I think you have to believe that people will develop and grow to where you hope they will be.
You don't have to be out front, that's right. The effort to recruit more minorities into teaching, top priority. Why? What's the problem? What's the priority?
It's twofold. One is that if, in fact, we have people of color who are out in teaching, in leadership roles, then all of our students begin to have a sense that people who are minority groups can lead, and that they are not in roles that are subservient or in roles that are not as important. It's interesting, I just came from the National Summit on Teacher Diversity, and our Education Secretary, John King, spoke about the fact that having teachers of color in the classroom isn't just to have role models for students who are from minority groups, but it's for all students, so that we will perhaps do away with some of the stereotypes we have about certain groups. One of the panelists who was at that summit talked about the fact that some of the violence that we're seeing against people of color perhaps is because many of our police officers, those in positions where they're protecting the public, have not had engaging and meaningful conversations and interactions.
I mean, I don't have black teachers.
People from exactly.
Minority teachers.
That's right. That's
so,
right.
So it's not just black kids, minority kids.
That's right.
Need to see someone who looks like them. That's part of it.
That's part of it. That's why I said
it's
twofold.
Thing.
It's not the whole thing.
Is it harder to recruit minorities into the classroom to teach than it is other groups?
I think so. I think years ago, in say the 50s, the 60s, going into teaching was the pathway to the middle class, and many minorities, that was the only pathway, that and perhaps nursing, perhaps. And so you had many, many teachers of color going into historically black colleges and universities, and that was their major.
Now more options?
Many more options, certainly. Affirmative action has opened doors for our students, EOF opportunities as well, and so that's one of the reasons. Another reason is I think many of our students of color, our minority students, have perhaps been undereducated, and so they haven't had the educational opportunities to aspire to become teachers as well. So sometimes that's a barrier. Another barrier that we're very much aware of at Montclair State is, of course, the fact that many times students don't have the financial support that they need in order to get into teacher preparation programs.
One quick question here. Because you know Newark so well, but you're also at Montclair State running this program, Montclair State helps teachers prepare to go into cities like Newark to teach. Why is it any different? Except because I was in the public schools in Newark back in the day, if you will. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
How do you teach them to teach?
Well, two things we do. Even before our students are admitted to our program, we actually, because we're in a partnership with the Newark Public Schools, along with 29 other school districts in the area around Montclair State, we do believe that the students there need as many new people coming in and helping the educational process there. And so our students actually performs public service, community service.
That's really, by the way, we'll keep talking
schools.
off the air, but by the way, thank you, Doctor. We'll keep explaining this off the air.
Sure.
But that is a real challenge, isn't it?
The preceding program has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of CAUCUS New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, JFK Medical Center, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, and by Verizon. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. CAUCUS New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
When you work in a public school, you're a part of the community. So when Superstorm Sandy hit, the school employees jumped right in to help. The middle school here served as a refuge for people who were forced from their homes. We all pitched in to help. Custodians, cafeteria workers, teacher aides, mechanics, groundskeepers, all pitching in to help out. School employees are part of a team, whether it's to help educate our children or to recover from a terrible tragedy. That's why I'm so proud to be a member of the NJEA.